Good morning, traders. Good morning. How's everyone doing? Oh, I hope so. I hope you're doing well. I hope you could see my screens, hear me okay before I get going, so I'm not talking to myself.
Looking good. Hear you loud and clear.
Hey, Mr. Kyle, nice overview. Nice to hear you. Um, well, let's just see what we have going here. One second. So let's blow this ES up here. This is the market profile ES, right? You see this this area here that's been highlighted. It seems like every time we get out of this sideways consolidation price overlap, we fail to continue and get some kind of follow through. So that's just how it's been. We're in this slightly so kind of like uh, trend up. If you look at the dailies here, you could just see this like, little channel. But with that being said, all the way up, this was quite the rally. We've had three major gaps that we have not filled. So you can't deny the rally, although it's slowly moving higher. Every one of these breakouts, except for this one, closed back into this area. So that's kind of interesting. Now, this one was that we had, of course, was a bit of a trap. It was the first day of December with the new month, right? And then we had that event on Sunday that drove the market all the way back down. Maybe if we didn't have that event, maybe we could have continued. So now the market is starting to move back up into this area, doing a little uh, easy, slow moving kind of trend back into it in the 5 minute here and right up to the POC. So the untested POC is at this level coming up right at 45.97.98. 46 is just a big round number. And of course, we probably will be, ripe to be able to test this early in the morning. So the market's trying to come out of this. You're going to need some leadership to do it. Lately, there hasn't been any real big volume days to take us out of it. Every time we get back above there, like I said, we come back into the middle of this consolidated area. So, you don't want to chase the market. The market's been very tight after the first hour or two. We've been consolidating a lot of whipsaw. So let's see. We'll let the market open, test this POC. But if we open up in this area, we're going to have a little gap from the previous US session high, which is this red area, right? So we've got Asia moved higher and now pre market, um, which is Europe, continuing higher at the moment. Okay. So for me, the pivot's way down here. This is the point of control. This is a pretty big area, as you can see. If you go back, we've had rejection areas there. We've had lows, uh, the highs of this Asia, the PLC here from yesterday. And it's close in this whole area is where we spent a lot of volume. So um, this 45.72 is my current pivot for today. Now it's way down there, but that's just how the market is. That we're doing a little bit back and forth, slowly trending higher. So we'll just see what the market wants to do after the opening. The first hour will probably give us a better idea. Okay. All right, let's go back here and let's look behind the scenes. Let's, let's go to the crude. So the crude was also breaking out to the downside. We kind of looked at this trend after we made this high. We had double distribution, bit of a failure where we tested the overnight highs but could not stay up there, came back down, and we've had single time framing on the daily now for 5 days to the downside. It just looks like we could continue, but if you remember, we did this whipsaw a little bit, and this last test up that I pointed out, where we had a double distribution, failed to take out this previous high, and now we're breaking below this this kind of huge coil that we have. Okay, so we could continue this break a little bit, and this is also a bit of a channel to the downside anyhow. And you can see this yellow line. It was almost like the PLC for this whole 2 weeks, which was the 200-day moving average. But I think they trapped some longs up here, and now we're taking out this big coil. So we could get down and possibly eventually get down to 65. Who knows? It could be this week. It's possible, but for right now, the pressure's on the downside. So if you look at this, you can see how this is moving pretty orderly to the downside. The pivot for me is 72.40. And that's basically the old swing high or the swing low of 72.37. And you can see where we spent quite a bit of time here. The PLC from yesterday, from the US session, and the PLC from the overnight session is there. If they get back above there, I think we'll take out the overnight highs and get back into this area and maybe, work our way back up to 73.30 or 74.10. But for right now, I think we're on the path to test 68.80 as the next level, or the big $70 mark, which is in the crude 70, 80, 90. They're just big levels. But when they do test 70, they tend to look on the other side, shake out some stops, and then maybe they come back above 70. But 69.80 is the next really big level. All right, let's move on. Let's go to the gold, which this gold was just amazing. So looking back at the gold, when we have these type of spike highs and, like super extended rallies on new highs, and we come back down and close, it's pretty often that you see a complete measurement of equal swings from the breakout, like here, to this high. If you were to measure that and look at where we went, we're pretty much equal swings. So that we have a little gap, which was interesting yesterday, the US session sold off, but still left this little gap, which is not a big deal. But that was, if you look at this a little bit more, of a equal swing. Okay. Let me just readjust this. I'm telling you, that evening was kind of funny because I think I told you that I looked at the gold about a half an hour after this all happened, and we were almost right back to the breakout level. So I didn't look at the charts. I looked at the quotes, and gold was maybe up 10, but at this point it was up like 60 in the highs. But if you take this measurement here and you go down, there's your equal swings. This is so often we see this kind of reaction when you have an overreaction up causes an overreaction down. I pretty much talk about it quite a bit, but here's the other example. Now, if you let's look at the gold for a second here. You can see on the daily how this looks, right? And this was the opening. And so this is where I measured the equal swings. But if you look back at what we did in other spike highs like that, we did the same exact thing, looking back on the May 4th, when we made that spike high of 2164, which, by the way, we fell short of the yearly high. That is the yearly high for this year. But you could see we went from 2164. To the next day, we went down to 2085. So there was another pretty big whipsaw. And usually that results into a little bit of a sometimes liquidation after they do that, where we have some kind of climax high. And if you look at the weeklies, you can see these, complete reversals after some kind of a spike event like this. Here we are again. Okay. Just something I happen to notice, because when you have a outlier kind of whipsaw, huge, spike up, spike down, it disrupts the flow of the market, and then you can have some, big reversals to the other side. All right, let's move on here, and and meanwhile, I want to mention, forgot to mention my pivot comes in at 2037. It's the point of control. It's the bottom of this ledge. I think the market's going to try to come back and heal itself a bit, and possibly we get up to 2059 to 2060 in this area here where we balanced before. Now will act as resistance. It's also the kind of the high volume node where we spent quite a bit of time trying to balance. So this is where I think we could possibly get up to. But meanwhile, we could do both. We can fill out this cave, stay above the pivot, and kind of just try to heal a little bit if you want, at this point. All right, let's move on. You guys, you girls, them, they. Okay. This EC is also it just looks a little bit like the crude, although that it has nothing to do with the crude. It just, we had a nice push up here in the EC, and all we're doing is doing a little single time framing lower. And we have this area here from way back that huge consolidation, and down here where we did this consolidation came out of. So now coming back down to will be some good support, and that's why I call it the inside pocket, because when you come down to something like that, where we broke out, that's kind of the inside. 107.42 is where that is. Now, I don't think we're going to get down there quite yet. They're showing a little bit of slowness and momentum, a little price overlap here, possibly. So we took out the U.S. session low from yesterday, but we did not take out the overnight lows. So we could, kind of like the gold, do a little healing, come back up. The pivot is 108.20. I'm sorry, 108.23. And if they get on the other side of 108.23, we can possibly get back up to this area. Maybe not today, but soon, if we can start to work our way back and put in a little bit of a bottom, maybe we get back up to this high volume node, and the high from Monday, right? And that comes in right around that 108.35 to 40. But that's far away at the moment. Let's just see if we can get up the pivot to the pivot 108.23. I think first we did a test down, so it's very possible we'll maintain a slight trend up to get to the pivot. All right. Meanwhile, we got the bonzos. The bonzos are looking good. I mean, they're in this slow trend, right? And we started down here where we kind of built this price overlap after coming off the lows, which we've had such a nice rally so far, but we're still in an uptrend, and we haven't had like 2-3 days down or anything like that. And market's holding up, and just like the market sold off forever, the writing was on the wall that we weren't done with raising interest rates. Now it looks like the market's building in no interest rate hikes or whatever you want to call, this rally, but it is a fairly solid rally at the moment. And the pivot is this high volume node, the previous US session PLC, point of control right here, right? And we opened and we held it right on the opening. That comes right around that 119.11, 10.11. Don't think we're going to get back below it. We might try to test it, but we also rallied up to 120.03, which is the next level, and we held. So you could see us do a little back and forth in this area. The 120.03 was a decent level, and now we're moving back to the middle of the range. Okay. And the only report we have out, I think, later is the crude inventories. We had a couple numbers this morning. They weren't that important. They're kind of just benign for the most part. All right. So let's see what the bonds want to do. And if we look at the bonds, just well, maybe I'll do this real quick. Let's just take a look at the bonds. So you can see here the green that you see is just a 3-bar reversal, and we've only had one day where we reversed and then we turned around the next day. So we've been in this upward channel, as you can see, and we're just at the top of it, which is an important level right around that 120.03. But if they take out the highs, we can continue this rally. This is the 200-day moving average at 123.04. And not to say we would go for it right away, but that could be a target because it's also a big level from this area back in August, July and August. All right, so let's go back to our drawing board for the opening and get ready. All right. So ES slowly moving towards that inside pocket, right? I'll put the NASDAQ up here. So, right. And then here's the how it looks on the volume candles, right? So this morning, once we got established a little bit of a support here, right into this tail, the market continued to move higher. Now, this is the untested PLC. When I say untested, it was untested on the US session, the most important session really for the S&Ps, right? The ES. So we got pretty close to 46, no banana, but that level actually comes in at 98. I think we got up to 97 or 96.5, whatever. We're right here. So we'll see if all indices will play together. It's been like rotation, quite the rotation in the last 2 weeks, where you have the Russell up big and the Dow was up 500 and we were down in the ES and the NAS. So today we have all the kids in the wagon moving higher. So we'll see if we can have a little bit more of a symmetrical type of market in this indices rather than these cross currents that we've had. All right, let's get ready for the opening. Let's have some fun, put some money in the bank, and I will be back on in 5 minutes. I'm going to get some coffee and recharge.